if you want to get the hell out of here, be nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's other worlds, there's other levels. Look, the next level's up. Oh, I was going somewhere with this soul here. Okay, so you've got to work your way up to the awareness of that soul. That's the only way you're going to get to being able to move on to the next triplicity, if you will. Because there's things there in that soul that are needed, that are the ticket to ride, if you will, to make that connection. And you can be here as long as it takes, learning which way is up. Or you can make choices that raise you up. That's your call. And but anyway, so once you have worked your way up to that soul, and now your consciousness and the consciousness of that soul are one, okay, then you have choices. According to the story we're studying, is you can then come and go by your own choice whether you want to incarnate or not. Prior to this, you are totally subject to when the soul decides it wants another incarnation. Otherwise, you're not getting here. Every one of these human beings here was ordered. Nobody got to this planet by accident. In terms of the creative force of the creator for this planet. Okay. I don't know if somebody dropped by and dropped a few ETs or something, that's different. But that which is originated for this planet. Okay. And then you can be up in those other levels, and time doesn't exist there. Okay. But and interestingly enough, even in physics of consciousness, for time here, time comes in chunks. But our brain loops fast enough so that we see a continuity that, like, like a clock. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 4 minutes, 4 minutes.
Kind of like one of those cartoon pages where a notebook where you move it and it's each a page, but you animate it like a cartoon, like creating a cartoon.
It could be, except that in this case, the chunks come. We don't create them. You're subject to the chunks. Okay. But he's just saying that we loop so fast that it looks like there's no space in between.
When we talk about sovereignty and stuff, that doesn't sound like freedom.
What do you? Oh,
You're subject to it. This is kind of like a prison in a way. It doesn't sound like there's a lot of freedom in any of this here.
There isn't down here. You literally cannot leave. For the most part, you can't leave. There's a rare accident that occurs every now and then for the percentage of people who are here where it's truly an accident. And that's what your material you study says, that the only otherwise you don't get out. You can't leave. And some people do commit suicide, but look at the relatively low number, because you know what that takes to do that. Has to be either an extreme derangement where you're not conscious and consciously connecting, with that soul or whatever. But you can't just say, oh my God, I want to die, and die. You don't have that power.
Yeah.
No, you're pretty much here. I mean, how many choices do you have?
I, I don't know. None.
I don't know. How tied are you into your world?
Uh,
You know, and anybody else could ask the same question
yeah.
because you got umpteen reasons. I can't do this because I can't do that because I can't do that because you can answer your own question. Because I have to do this on Friday and I got all these bills to pay over here, so I have to do this or I can't leave those people because they would be unhappy. I don't care. You're physically tied, you're emotionally tied, and you're mentally tied down here. This is what these lower three realms are.
Yeah.
And you do keep coming back until you have created the consciousness and gets to the level of that soul. You've had that what's called third initiation, which in the masteries, I think they really call it the first one. But we've got a couple before that. They were all demonstrated in Christianity. So you've got the birth, the baptism, the transfiguration, the crucifixion, and the resurrection.
Yeah.
And then you're out. Okay. So that's life here. And like I said, you need, every time you come down, you need the basic three: food, shelter, and clothing. They're not provided. You read in Life and Teachings, and when you hit the next level, they are provided.
That's pretty good incentive.
It should be.
Yeah.
I think that particular book to me is like a cosmic can opener to consciousness, to really start to free you up, because what they'll tell you do not have to die. There is no death. If you
Right.
choose to play the game the way the game is played to win, there is no death. That's part of what you were talking about earlier in terms of the choices of your actions. Okay. If you want to, because you've got to move on up to be able to have those freedoms. We have very little freedom on this planet.
Right.
That was one of the things that I remember in those materials. It said that the freedom was the lowest, and I'm not going to use the right word benefit because it wasn't benefit, but attribute, maybe the lowest attribute of Sirius, the star Sirius, or the lowest aspect. It was one of the two.
Yeah.
And that, we have a little of that, but we have very, very little freedom on this planet.
Yeah. And it seems to get tighter.
Well, yeah, that may be temporary or I mean, this planet's been around for a long time. It's gone through a lot of cycles, and we have various cycles and challenges and whatever else. But basically, yeah, freedom itself, innate. It's not innate in this planet. We can create it through our consciousness, but I don't think there's too many people who are working on that at this point in time.
Now it's hard to even be aware of the need to work on it.
Yeah, you're too busy running in place.
Right. A lot of times something has to jolt you into that, I think.
Yeah, well, you have to think about it. Pick up Life and Teachings. That'll jolt you into it faster than anything else, I think. Just the presentation of that material and the indication that, look, there's people on this planet who do have those qualities and choices. We don't.
Right. And you say on this planet. That's part of this planet,
Yeah.
those dimensions, still part of the planet.
Yes. Just like Shambhala is part of this planet. Okay. And what I'm saying is then when I say that, is that chart that you've got in all those dimensions, you start at the bottom, work your way to the top. The top is Shambhala. So that's all that I'm making a point. That's all on this earth. Yeah. Shambhala was a physical place at one point. It's not viewed as one right now. You may see it or experience it in the etheric, but the physicality of it did exist on this planet.
Interesting. Yeah, well, that kind of changes it a little bit. That's a perspective switch there. I think that may help.
How?
Going up even into the next higher levels of it, you're still a part of this. You're still a part of the system here.
Right.
It's not like you're moving to the other side of the cosmos. You're still a part of this.
No, there's nothing cosmic about what we're doing here.
Yeah.
Frankly. And I specifically use that word because if you went back to Blavatsky talking about this planet, and she indicates though that there is no place for the weary traveler to land and stay on this planet. Right? You remember that?
Yeah, well, yes, I remember that well.
So what happens is when you do get up to the top of that chart, the first thing they're going to ask you is to say, look, you're here, but you can't stay. Now, where do you want to go?
Now, in Life and Teachings, they talk about living forever, but are they living in the same place, or are they leaving there, and are they packing up and moving, or?
First of all, I don't believe that the people in Life and Teachings were at that, living on that level. The mother was, in terms of she went and went further up because she wanted to learn more, is what was said. And then she would come back down like for Christmas or for the holidays or something.
Right.
Okay. And so we're not talking with them in the same having experienced this same journey all the way to the point where they get kicked out. Let's put it that way. Yeah, so the point is, if you really succeed to get all the way up there, then you're going to get kicked out of the joint.
Get evicted out of your own house.
Well, it wasn't ours. That's the thing.
Ah, there you go.
Here for a visit. I had a friend actually who was saying that when I was younger, who always used to say, I'm just here for a visit. Yeah. So, and he remembered earlier lifetimes where he was elsewhere and operational and busy and so on and so forth. But he would just say, I'm just a visitor here.
It's on vacation?
No, he remembered flying around in spaceships, a pilot of one. Okay. He had said, I'm sure he didn't say that to very many people, if any, that he remembered that. but he was down here. He was high tech. He helped create some of the high tech medical equipment we have now. Okay. I just happened to meet him in college, and then met him again 20 years later when he was really doing a lot of the work that he did here. And then, but that was always his comment. I don't know. I'm just a visitor here. And, but he was here to do something. He did it, and he's no longer here.
Wonder where he is.
He's probably back out flying around somewhere. I expect so. Yeah. I mean, because the thing about that is you can come down here and you do have the ability at a certain point to choose to come back down here or not. Okay. That's after that third. And you have continuity of consciousness, and you can come and go. So it wasn't like he had to wait for some soul of his to do that. He'd come down from elsewhere for a purpose, and then is gone when I think he accomplished that purpose. So we do get visitors that way. And the other thing to look at is when somebody does get to that point, they got to go somewhere. And that's up to that next triplicity, that what's spiritual triad on your chart. But then they're conscious. They don't need the body, but they're still learning. They're still working. They're still consciously active. Okay. And then when you get to the triplicity above that, which is the final three, you are moved out of having any connection with this planet in terms of creation of a body, because you're moving now into pure consciousness, pure light, but it doesn't need anything wrapping it around it. It is just like a ball of pure light. I guess we look out and we see the stars and we see a bunch of them, right? And the remark that's made in the material you're studying is that, I'm not going to get this exactly right, but that you leave, and then it talks about you being cosmic, in a cosmic area, and a fixed point of pure light. So then you've got your place, is what's implying, I believe. You can read it. The words are all in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so does this correlate in any way to all the dimensions that these guys are talking about on YouTube and these other shows and stuff?
I think so, because they're generally talking about 4 and 5D.
Yeah.
They're already in 3D. And humanity, according to those charts that you're looking at, is a 5-dimensional creature. So basically, you've done the lower 3 triplicity. That's what we're living in right now. Then you have connected with that soul and become conscious, and it connects you to the next triplicity, which in that chart is the spiritual triad. Okay, so now, and so one of that triplicity is in the mental realm, and then there's 2 more, the Buddhic and the Atmic plane. So that makes 5 from your very bottom, and that's humanity. And that's because once you move out of there, now you are up in the monadic plane, and that's not considered human anymore. In terms of the human qualities that you asked the question about, and when they're talking about, when all of that started, oh, you just got to go to 4 and 5D, and I thought, yeah, right. Just go there,
Yeah.
You got to work your way there. And so maybe they think they're going to light the whole planet up and it'll take everybody with. I don't know. nor do I care whether you have to work for it or if it's given to you. You know, it's the qualities of the universe we're talking about, and the qualities of this planet, for starters. This planet needs development. This planet is behind the 8 ball in terms of its system that it's part of, which will then weaken that whole system. So the joint needs to be cleaned up. Okay. And the subjective realm, it is said, has already gone to 5D for the planet. It's just the objective realm, which is us and this physicality that we're dealing with, that's the trash bin at the moment.
Is that pretty far? Do you think that's pretty far ahead in your?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It would be probably nice if it all comes together, but I don't know whether it will or not.
No, guess we'll see.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, we all need to be working.
Yep. Yep.
Can't really sit on our butts and expect a whole lot to happen.
You sit on your butt and do nothing in today's world, and you can have some really ugly stuff happen to you. Yeah. So, I mean, you need to pay attention. But like I said, kindness is a very key word. Just being kind. And there's another subtlety. And I think the Indians used to do it. And it could have been Atlanteans, it could have been any Indians, and it could have been anybody else either, for that matter, that used to say, I see you. Okay. Now, that is significant in as much as what I've really said, if I'm looking at this person and seeing them, is I'm letting you know that I have registered you in my consciousness, that you exist in my consciousness. Now, that might seem like no big deal, but when we talk, as we have, about consciousness, and there's always that duality there, the invocation, evocation that you're talking about in terms of learning and is coming in for the age of Aquarius, is you put the material in that you are reading. And we already know, they've said 1,000 times, it already exists in consciousness, but there's probably more related to it. So that what oftentimes happens, I never used to be able to figure this out when I was 20, and why is this happen? I would read actually one of the books you're talking about now, and I would come back to it a week later and I'd read it and I'd say, I don't even remember reading this. This is not what I read. Okay. Because my comprehension of it mentally now is far greater. And everybody used to experience it. It wasn't just me. So it was, I don't think we attribute it to magic. I think we just attribute it to having brains that weren't too smart or something.
Right. Okay.
With what we read. But the reality was, yes, the words were the same printed words, but they all now had expanded meanings, because in the process from when the original reading and the next one, the brain itself, which functions on electromagnetics, went and found the other and aligns with the material that's already in consciousness. And now I have a much better understanding of what those words represented. You do it all the time, don't you?
Yeah.
Material?
Yeah, that's why I continue to read them. Because it really does come together.
And
I never expected it to be able to comprehend some of these things.
No, and well, and that is, I think those books say that the new form of prayer for the Aquarian age is invocation, evocation. In other words, your reading that book invokes the subject matter. It's in your mind now. It has invoked. It has done its portion of the electromagnetic scenario. And you give it a little bit of time, because we live in time, and come back to it. And now you have so much more of an understanding and awareness of what those words represented.
Yeah.
That it pulls you up, it lifts your consciousness up, it builds it in.
Yeah. The key, I think, was the first time, you said the first time you have to read it all the way through. Don't think about it. Don't try to understand anything. Right. Even though I did for a long time, of course. But
it still was different when you came back, right?
Right. But get through the whole book.
Yeah.
And then you can, go back to section and question or whatever. But the first time, just get through it and get it in.
Yeah, because you're not going to understand it for
starters. You have the foundation, right?
Yeah. The reason you're not going to understand it is that the authors of those particular books function in those higher dimensions. Okay. They're there. They've lived it. They understand it. They have a whole nother level of understanding of that. And each of those dimensional levels has a different frequency and a different way that they function, the energy itself. So if somebody is on that realm and then you read the material and you now have been able to connect with that material that was written by somebody higher, it's going to lift up your consciousness. That's how you're going to build in your consciousness. And that's why you don't try to understand it, because then you're limiting it. You've got a three-dimensional mind. And everything down here, you can know it 6 ways to Sunday. Okay. So if you go try to figure out those words that are really fourth dimensional, you will tack your third dimension consciousness to it and limit it. That's why I'm saying don't try it, just read it. Just let your eyes cover the material. Because I think they say this eye, I think it's the right eye goes to the brain, the left eye goes to the Buddhic plane, which will help lift you up. So, most of the time you're only reading stuff that was written by somebody who's got a three-dimensional mind, and they might be reading somebody else's stuff and trying to digest it and give you another viewpoint, but it doesn't lift you up.
It really puts a whole different spin on people reading fiction books then, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. And I would imagine that most of the fiction, well, what you're reading is designed to be truth of that material. And a fiction book is designed, everybody knows that's not designed to be truth. It's designed to be an interesting story that holds together with all the inductive, deductive logic so that you believe it. But you also know it's a piece of fiction. That material you're reading is not meant to be a piece of fiction. It's meant to be the passing along of information from individuals who function either on this level or are putting together information that a number of people who function on those levels have left behind throughout history, their experiences. So yeah, I know you build it in. I've had other people, I remember I mentioned to you one of the people over in Arizona. I said, how are things going? He said, well, I'm slowly building it all in. All of those levels of awareness and the understanding of it. And, So, but the Aquarian age, which is just coming in, aided by Pluto in Aquarius, which will speed us up a little bit personally as individuals and humanity. But the Aquarian age itself is our solar system now will have the backdrop of the constellation of Aquarius and the benefit of the energy and understanding and all that Aquarius is. We will build the next 2,000 years with that quality of energy. We've had for the last 2,000 plus years the age of Pisces. And we built our world with that energy, of which the Christian religion was one of the things that got built with the energy through those 2,000 years. Okay. I anticipate that the age of Aquarius will explain. It'll be the second coming. They say there's going to be one, and when people have believed it as long, been told it for 2,000 years, it's going to happen because there's a pattern up in
Right. We're invoking it in a way, right?
Just like I think there's what the Imam,
The
Persian,
Imam Mahdi, yeah.
that I don't know if this was really the one or not, but if it wasn't, they'll still be waiting for him. If this was the 13th, was it the 13th or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I remember when Khomeini came back from Paris, and that was a discussion. But whether they've determined that it was or not, I don't know, and I'm not interested in arguing the point with anybody over it. Just the point is that until if he's not, then it has to be satisfied before they'd ever go to the next one. That's the way we do things here. We build a thought form that strong, and under that amount of time, it will have to be satisfied. Because there'll be a certain number of humans who won't move on until it is.
Wow, yeah. Yeah, interesting.
So you find a lot of these things interesting. What do you do with them after that?
I sit on them. I don't know. They're just.
Well, the question I guess would be, was your life better now or before all this material?
Oh, of course,
Why?
I'm at whatever. I found some level of peace inside myself, so that's huge. You can't. There's nothing. You can't replace that. You can't make that up, or you can't. There's nothing that you would trade that for. There's nothing I would trade that for. So, and all these things help you become more aware. The books, understanding the initiation process. It helps you become more aware of yourself as you're growing too, and you can stay at peace through even some of what, I don't know, maybe some people would consider harder times, because we're still subject to all of that.
Well, there is a saying that that before enlightenment you chop wood and haul water, and after enlightenment you chop wood and haul water. Okay, so but it probably has something to do with how you feel, what you think about when you chop wood and haul water. But life is a journey. Some people are in park. Some people are in a slow walk,
Yeah.
and then there's some who now have, I don't know, do they feel the call? Do they feel a pull? Is there something driving them, or are all those things individualistic, but yet some people just can't not pursue that elusive unknown?
Yeah, yeah, I guess it has to be that individual thing there. The soul has to be in charge of that. It has to be that.
Yeah, I don't know. I had a woman friend that I knew, and this would have been in my 20s, and we were having a discussion because this was a topic of conversation in those days anyway. And she said, "Well, this is not my lifetime for it, my spiritual journey." I thought, "Oh, you're really lucky." Because she actually went and built sandcastles, by the way. I mean,
Yeah.
like, I'm not talking about just building big ones, the big,
Yeah.
yeah. But I thought, oh, you're so lucky to know that.
Yeah. That's
Because the pursuit is a pursuit, and if you got to make it, you got to make it. If something's driving you inside to do that, you won't rest until you do. But nobody
right.
chooses you except yourself.
Right. Yeah, but there's something that's driving you, and there's no turning around from that.
Yeah.
And you would give up you would just, you'd fight, you'd give up everything, it's a no hold barred kind of, uh, at all cost,
Excuse me.
you know, no matter what it takes, doesn't matter, even if you don't like it, it still doesn't matter, who's to not like it, I guess is the question. Who's not liking it?